You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 148.4, Will Rutherford's 5 Questions That Need Answers. Today, Will answer questions about the NFL playoffs, the Colts, the Pacers, and the college football playoffs.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome back, Will. You would think that after a round of the playoffs, that the first question that we start with every week would get easier, but it doesn't seem to be any easier this week. I was thinking about it today. It is a hard formula to put together because it looks like the 3 best teams are in the AFC. So how do you balance that? So, Will, in your mind, what team is most likely to win the Super Bowl here in just a few weeks?
I think it's a brilliant question because quite frankly, before you've seen the buys, it might be a little harder to answer than we give credit for. We saw how buys worked in college football. I expect that they're going to work a little better here. I think the NFL, as far as the physicality, the 18 weeks takes its toll on teams a lot more, and that rest is really resetting. But I don't know that. So I'm going to say the Chiefs still have to be number one, I think.
Agreed.
I don't, until it's one of those, until proven otherwise to me, they can't be removed from that spot.
I'm not sure they're not the 4th best team.
But I still think they
might win the Super Bowl.
They easily could be the 4th best team. It seems like the Travis Kelce becomes a different player in the playoffs. I don't be shocked at all. He's going to have 10 catches for 90-plus yards. I think he's done. I think that it depends on what their game plan is. Their game plan could be, hey, we're going to run the ball, which he has been much more involved in the run game. They kind of have I don't want to say a great two-headed monster, but a sneakier two-headed monster with Pacheco and Hunt, although they both kind of run the ball the same way. It's not necessarily what the Lions had with Gibbs.
Just fresh legs.
Yeah. It's not necessarily what the Lions had with like a Gibbs and a Montgomery, or the Falcons had with a Bijan and Algier. Like Kareem Hunt and Pacheco run a very similar style. They're both, I would say, slashers. Slashers used as a point guard or a guard in the NBA, and they're very physical. They run very hard. Very hard. The ground is punished every time Pacheco touches the ball. I think the Chiefs win a close one.
Really?
I do. I think the Chiefs historically don't cover. The past 3 years, the Chiefs have been very poor against the spread, but they're going to win. At some point, they're going to win.
The reason I put them number one is because I'm pretty sure they're going to win this week. There's
no
one else in the AFC I'm pretty sure is going to win this week because the other one is as toss-up as toss-up gets.
And, I don't know for a fact. I think the Texans, they played much better last week. They played well. Defensively, they played really well.
They did.
They offensively, I guess you could have that up for debate. I would say in their whole body of work, they played much better last week as a team, complementary wise, versus how they had kind of finished those last 5 weeks. They need to get Mixon going earlier and get him going more often. I just think they put the ball in Stroud's hands too much. They really did. Stroud has proven this year to be a little turnover happy. He's thrown, the pick numbers have elevated. The touchdowns are, down compared to last year. And you have an all-world back in your backfield. Why not give him the ball more? Especially a game that, 1, you're winning, and 2, I don't know why you wouldn't want to control the clock. I just felt like that they put the ball in harm's way more than they needed to, and that contributed to the game maybe being a little closer than the Chargers, who had 4 turnovers, should not have been in that game at any point. And the Texans let them hang around and didn't go. It was just a weird game. It just was a weird game.
Well, what I said was going to happen is exactly what happened, and it's a mirage. Houston's not any good. They have a good pass rush. There was nothing the Chargers could do to stop it because, A, they don't have a very good offensive line, and B, they don't have any receivers who you can just dump the ball off to when there's pressure. I mean, they've got some good young guys, but they were going to need to improve their receiving core, their offensive line. But that might be a team of the future.
I'm not convinced at all. Herbert is still an incredibly talented quarterback. His body of work over the last 4 years. I don't want the slander of this guy. I don't think it's warranted. It's justified. He's the only reason they were 11-5, and I just don't think it's fair to criticize.
He does make too many mistakes still, but that might be that he doesn't have any protection.
He's got a lot of arm talent. He's very Andrew Luck-ish in that way. Andrew Luck threw a lot of picks, and he forced the ball a lot because he had to for the Colts to win. And I think the Chargers are in a very similar situation. They don't have neither one. I'm sorry, Dobbins and Gus Edwards is not a great backfield tandem. Neither one of those guys are starters.
Their offense needs work.
It does. It needs a ton of work. They really have no position locked up other than Herbert, I would say.
But Jim Harbaugh will get the job done. All right, number 2. This is a tough one,
This is where it gets really, really difficult.
I'm tempted to put the Eagles here because I have no idea who's going to come out of the other game, but
I'm not convinced that the Eagles are winning that game, so I don't think I can put them there.
I know we have different views on the Eagles.
You know what? Just for the fact of I also think they're going to win this week. I think the Lions are going to win. Once again, I think the Commanders will cover. I think 9.5 is way too many points, but I do think the Lions will win at home. So I feel like they've, the two easiest teams with a road to move on, by the view of how we do this conversation rather than a power ranking. I feel like you kind of have to put them there. I mean, the Bucks just gave the game to the Commanders. The Commanders did not play.
Stop using that word, by the way. Just say Washington. That's the worst team nickname of all time.
Okay, Washington. I'm sorry. They gave the game away. I mean, just that fourth quarter was absolute suicide.
No more
with the Bucks. That's disappointing. That team, the Bucks were the better team. They played like the better team, and they were the team that, to me, was my dark horse. I really thought that they were better.
They couldn't have won in Philadelphia, though.
They just kind of laid an egg when they didn't need to, and so I'm gonna go with the Lions. They're gonna have rest. I think they've been banged up. They're gonna get some guys healthy. Anzalone made an absolutely massive difference in Week 18 against the Vikings. I know that historically speaking, the Lions have been a team that is really solid bet the rushing quarterback, rushing yards over for the opposing quarterback. I do think that Daniels will be able to effectively scramble. I just think that the Lions will be able to disrupt him passing and rattle him a little bit. I think it's going to be a very rowdy, raucous environment. Ruckus, I should say, environment for the Commanders, Washington play in. I think that where Tampa Bay didn't have the guys to match up with McLaurin, I think the Lions do. I think they have maybe the two best safeties, Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. They have guys that can cover on the outside. I just think the Lions are they're just going to overwhelm Washington. I don't think that Washington has a chance to win this game. I do think it's probably a 7-point game.
I like your reasoning, but it's still the Lions. Number 3.
See, this is where we said 2 was hard, 3 is impossible. There's no good choice here because I think both of these games coming up.
It's got to be the team at the home field, but man, that's going to be I cannot wait for that game.
No, I guess give me. I'm more convinced the Bills are going to win than the Eagles, if that makes sense as far as a home team.
Really?
I am. I really think the Rams are playing.
They are not winning in Philadelphia.
Well.
Matthew Stafford. Not winning in Philadelphia.
They can.
They're not.
I disagree. I really think the Rams are 8-3 since.
I understand they're not winning.
They turned it around on that Thursday night game.
If the game was in LA, I might agree with you. But the game's in Philadelphia, they're not winning.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna give me the Bills at 3. The Bills being a home dog is absolutely ridiculous. The Bills did nothing but take care of business. We texted back and forth during that Denver game.
So good.
Yeah. Awesome. They looked so good against a bad team.
I know.
That team had no business being there.
But it wasn't just this week. They have looked great for
They've looked really good, and so the Bills.
Yes,
the Bills have looked really,
point.
really good. I don't know why this conversation of it's just this syndrome that we get into in, I guess we can consider ourselves sports media, where we just look at like this body of work that the Ravens do because they've controlled the headlines of like, oh my God, look how good this team's played. The Bills have played equally as good, if not better, than the Ravens have over the entire course of the season. I just think that Josh Allen is going to win that game. I have no reason to doubt him. I have more reason to doubt Lamar than I do to doubt Josh Allen.
That Buffalo defense is not the kind of defense that shuts down a guy like Lamar Jackson. That's where I would devil's advocate you.
I don't think that the Ravens defense is a defense that shuts down Josh Allen. I think this is an over game. This is a lot of points
but
game.
There's going to be so much running the ball. It might be a short game.
We'll see.
That's going to be the issue.
We'll see. And
there's not going to be a lot of punts. I'll say that.
Again, I think a lot of it depends on, this is a game that Zay Flowers being healthy and right makes a world of difference.
Good, yeah.
I mean, Likely and Mark Andrews are really good, and in the playoffs, tight ends can win you and lose you games. But this is a game that the Ravens are going to need an explosive playmaker. I think that if you're the Bills, you're going to go into this game saying, we're not going to let Lamar Jackson beat us one way or another. And they're going to have to tackle in the box against Henry. And we'll see if that happens. I'm just going to give it to the home team, and I think the Bills will, in an incredible game, will end up winning this football game.
So is Baltimore number 4?
I think so. I think that they have to be. I would make an argument I'm more convinced that Baltimore will win than I am of the Eagles or Rams winning, if that makes sense in such a way. It makes no sense, but I feel like you can make the same argument that we made with the Bills with the Ravens. I think these two teams are mirror images of each other in a sense, quarterbacks having to do so much. I just really like the way Allen runs in the postseason versus Lamar running. I like that more physical quarterback where, Lamar is not somebody you're going to get to impose your will defensively on. He's going to get down. He's going to get out before.
Allen might lower his head and run.
Josh Allen's
going to over somebody.
Josh Allen is going to absolutely, when it matters, he will impose his will.
That's right.
And I like that more. That's just bias. I just like that style of quarterback running a lot more. Plus, James Cook's really good. And Khalil Shakir, which is shocking, second in the league yards after catch, makes 0 sense, but he's quietly done it. At the Ravens, this is a literal coin flip. You could make an argument either way. I just think that the Bills ultimately at home will end up winning.
It's one I can't wait to see. It's been a long time since there's been a playoff game that didn't involve the Colts that I'm like, I can't wait to watch this.
This is a really good one, and it's great that it's on a Martin Luther King Jr. Sunday, so everybody's going to stay up and watch it. Going to be great vibes all the way around.
Let's just hope it's as good as we think it's going to be.
Well, and it could be. I really did think that Bills-Broncos game was going to be a lot better than it was. It proved to be kind of a stinker.
It's because the Bills are good.
I felt proved right in the first 5 minutes of the game until I was proven wrong.
Until the Bills scored 31 points in a row.
That's for another time. But
so it sounds like to me that the Rams are your number 5.
If I was doing a power ranking, I would put the Rams ahead. If I'm doing most likely to win the Super Bowl, I'm still going to side with the home team, the Eagles. But I just feel like that they've been on this teetering line of implosion for the whole year. We've talked about it, why I don't trust them. I just think there's way too many distractions. There's always something. A.J. Brown can say whatever he wants. Reading a book on the sidelines during an NFL game is not somebody that, to me, is, completely mentally locked into the game. I mean, I couldn't imagine. Could you imagine a Reggie Wayne?
No.
Doing that?
No, I agree with you.
Could you imagine that? I mean,
I
think that there's a lot of issues between Sirianni and Hurts that are latent, not there. I just feel like there's a recipe for
All true.
For just implosion. And I think that the Rams are just steady. Sean McVay is a brilliant coach. Matthew Stafford is really an all-generation quarterback. Doesn't really get talked about enough. I like the Rams receivers more than I think Puka and Cooper Kupp are more reliable than A.J. Brown is. I think A.J. Brown can be a head case. I think he's been a head case while he's in Philadelphia. I like Devontae Smith and think that he is much more reliable and a better receiver, all-around receiver in his body of work. But I think Kyren Williams matches up. I mean, we say Saquon's 101. Kyren Williams is a guy that is kind of in that argument for a top 5 running back in the league too. I really like the way the Rams D-line's playing.
I agree with everything you just said, but with a caveat. The Eagles' defense is getting better.
It's getting
every week, and those cornerbacks get better every week.
Yep, they do.
And that's huge. And their defense is so good that they could ride that to the Super Bowl. And their offensive line is so good that anytime they have anything less than and 3, they're getting a first down. That's really tough to beat, man.
Well, my caveat to that would be if you're talking about Kupp and Nakua are possession receivers. And possession receivers, if you look at the numbers, are way less affected by the corner covering them and more or less affected on scheme and how the game translates. Puka Nakua is going to get open. Cooper Kupp is going to get open. And Matthew Stafford's going to find them. No matter what DeJean or Kenyon Mitchell want to do, like Nakua's getting open. It's just going to happen. He's not shutting them down. He's too big body, too physical, and it's just the point of attack. I'm curious to see what this Tyler Higbee was really starting to play really well of late for the Rams, and he obviously left last week with a chest injury, so you're going to want to kind of see how that goes up in the air. Like I said, I'm putting the Eagles above the Rams, but I like the Rams in this game a lot. I just think that they have a lot of mojo going on. They took care of business against the Vikings, and to me, they left no doubt. They left no doubt in that game that they are not an elite team that deserves to be in this Final 8, and I'm going to put them right there with the Eagles. That spread, I would take the Rams all day.
The game is in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah.
In January, right?
Yeah.
Eagles are going to win. All right. The correct answer, by the way, is Chiefs number 1, Bills number 2, Ravens number 3, Eagles number 4, and Lions number 5. Although I still don't even want to put the Lions on there because I just know it's going to end poorly because it always does. All right. Question number 2. What is Jim Irsay thinking?
I guess I'm going to need a little bit more context than that. What, as far as what he's decided to do, and kind of, I don't think that there's a sound argument you can really make one way or another.
One way or the other, I can make an argument that it's been a horrible, horrible regime.
I can too. I'm not saying there's an argument both ways. I would say that I am on the side of Ballard needed to go. It was time for him to be done. He's had enough time. I was very 50-50 with Steichen. I think he's a really good play caller, but his head coaching and game management and stuff like that, I thought he was brilliant last year with getting the Colts to even the position to win the division on that Saturday night game against the Texans. But this year was just
malpractice.
It was bad. It was bad. And I don't think that there's a sound argument that can be made for why it was like this. There's really just no reason that it needed to be. It didn't have to be, and I was on the side of it was time for Ballard to go. I really was. I was firmly on that side. I was really completely in the middle on Steichen. I'm fine giving him another chance. I'm fine. I was fine moving on and looking for another coach in a great head coaching cycle year. I think Irsay just one, I really feel like his health has deteriorated to the point that I'm not sure that he's involved the day-to-day. I really firmly believe that if his health is in the condition that it looks to be whenever he's presented on TV or on social media, it's time to hand this over to his daughters and let them. They've kind of been the heir to the throne here for we're going on like 5 years now, where they've been really involved in the day-to-day stuff. I think it was time for them to maybe make this decision. But I don't know how you can convince the Colts that you think that they're going to be a lot better next year. I don't know how you can say that to the fan base, how you can sell them on that to the fan base.
I guess Anthony Richardson being healthy?
I don't even know if that matters now.
You give them hope with restarting with a new general manager, a new coach, a new quarterback. Well, I'd be fine if a new coach came in and wanted to see what he could do with Anthony Richardson. I like him. But, yeah, there's no hope to me now.
I think you're staring down another 500 season is what I think. They're going to be good enough to beat the teams they should and bad enough to beat the teams they don't. But
I'm not even sure of that. I think we're talking about looking at the first pick in the draft.
Here's what I think that the Colts in a year when the division was as gettable as I think it's going to get for a while,
yeah,
they decided to not go get it.
Yep, that's right.
And I firmly believe Jacksonville is not going to be as bad as it was this year. Houston is not probably going to team of the future. Tennessee with competent coaching. You're talking about a top 3 defense in the league. If they are just competent offensively, they're a team that makes a push for being 500.
Well, this leads into my question number 3. What do the Colts do now to make things better?
They've got to hit home runs in the draft. At this point, that's all they can do.
How about Ballard using a little bit of free agency? The thing has always been that free agency doesn't work in the NFL, and it usually doesn't when you go after a guy who used to be a star and no longer is on the second half of his career.
Yeah.
That's when things don't tend to work out. But you can definitely improve your team through free agency, and he's refused to do it.
He has. I think that. Well, and I guess I say the draft because I have no hope that he'll ever be involved in free agency. Yeah. So I shouldn't.
I'm saying if you're running the team, what do you do?
If I was running the team in its current moment, current state, I would be looking to get better in the trenches. I would be looking for a pass rusher that can make a big difference. I'm not convinced that anybody that Ballard has ever brought in would be considered a great pass rusher. I think Latu's got a lot of hope, but he's got hope. He's not there. He's got hope. I would absolutely go get. I would be cutting Franklin and EJ Speed. It's great to be a tackling machine.
I'd start over completely on the back half of the defense.
I would say it's great to be a tackling machine. Pat Angerer was an excellent tackling linebacker. You can find them in the 7th round. Find them whenever.
Walker.
Go get a linebacker who can cover anybody, can cover a shadow in pass coverage. And you know what?
Darius Leonard.
I guess it depends. It depends a lot on the system that they bring the guy into. This Gus Bradley system was always torturous, was always going to be torturous for Franklin and Speed, who are not cover linebackers. Gus Bradley's defensive scheme was predicated on being able to win with 4 pass rushers, devoting 7 to the pass game, and making your tight ends have to play the middle of the field and cover well. That's not Franklin's strength. That's not EJ Speed's strength. They are first and second down linebackers, not third down linebackers. They're just not. And it was just like malpractice on the coaching or whatever you want to say. The scheme was never adjusted to what the strength of the team was. The team was never, and I would not say Franklin or Speed, they're not great blitzing linebackers either. They're tackling, run-stopping linebackers. If they get a lot of tackles, they also, we had the most missed tackles. The Colts had the most missed tackles of any team in the NFL. So linebackers, I'd completely start over. I think on the corners, you gotta hope Brent stays healthy, and you need to hope that Jalen Johnson takes another step forward.
Yeah,
I think Nick
even Cross, so, they're middle of the pack corners.
I think Nick Cross is. I like the way he plays. I think he sticks his nose big time in there tackling.
Don't give me Blackman either. They're all.
I don't. Yeah. I'm not sold on Blackman. I think that you have something to work with Johnson. Corners take time to develop.
Yeah, but he's still not going to be an elite corner.
No, I don't think he's ever going to be an elite.
Quinion Mitchell or Jared Verse. Or,
they could have.
Oh man.
So I'm Buckner and Stewart and Latu would be the only three that I would pencil in defensively next year. And I think everyone else other than that, I think they're expendable.
I'm not even sure about Buckner anymore.
He's still good. He still makes a big difference when he's in there.
He's a good pass rusher.
He still makes a big difference when he's in there. The best way to disrupt a quarterback's A-gap pressure, he does that effectively. And Stewart is an excellent tackling defensive tackle. He's a great 3-tech.
The front four I have not much issue with.
No, they need a better pass rusher on the other side a lot too. Quiddy's he's fine. He's serviceable as a rotational piece, but he's not good enough for what you need.
Bad drafts.
Offensively, I think the offensive line's got a lot to work with. I don't know if they have great pieces. I think scheme is very dependent. I think
depends on Gonzalez.
Ryman is kind of really turned into a pretty good left tackle. The left side of the offensive line is really good. It's that right side. They've got a lot of work to do.
Nelson's not even a very good pass blocker. He's okay. Not worth a 6th pick in the draft, that's for sure.
Oh, he's really good.
He's not worth 6th pick in the draft.
Very, very good guard.
You want to go over who was drafted behind him and tell me you still would have taken him?
Based on how their offense was with Taylor and Mack and how
Nelson
Nelson
never
played.
Worth a top 10 pick. A top 10 pick needs to be a difference maker. A guard cannot be a difference maker.
See, I disagree. I think a guard makes a huge deal.
Name the last guard who was a difference maker.
The last guard, Quentin Nelson's a difference maker.
No, he's not. What difference does he make?
He's an incredible pulling. He's an incredible pulling guard. He's on every trap play you run, every power run. They're running to Quentin Nelson's strong side. That's why Taylor had 1,400 yards.
What has added him to the roster done for him?
Take him away from the roster and see what that run offense looks like. It's bottom 5, bottom 8.
Top 10 has to be a difference maker.
Well, I don't. I think that. As far as top 10 hit percentage, as far as look across the league, Nelson would be considered a hit in any top 10 of drafts in the last 10 years. Nelson has been an all-pro.
He's all right.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on that one. I
think
he's
great
much
this
better.
First couple of years.
He's much better than you're giving him credit for. He is a stalwart on that offense. Every offensive line would want him on it.
Sure, yeah, but he was the 6th pick in the draft.
Now,
that's way too high.
This was also a draft that you were talking about, Mike McGlinchey from Notre Dame, too, being a potential top 10 pick. I don't know if he went top 10. He went to San Francisco, and he's on a second team. It's if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, it'd be Christmas all year. You can't go back and look at drafts from.
You know who the pick was after Quentin Nelson? Josh Allen.
And who was the Colts quarterback at that time, too? Andrew Luck.
Was he? In 2018?
2018, Andrew Luck was the quarterback.
Yeah. Okay, and how about right after that? Roquan Smith was the next pick.
Okay.
All right. Right after that was Minka Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
Then Vita Vea.
I would argue Nelson has aged better than all of those players outside of Roquan Smith.
You are out of your freaking mind.
He's aged really well. I think he's playing just as good now. He's just as dependable now as he was. I'm not saying he's the elite left guard that he was, but he's a massive difference maker on that team.
Frank Ragnow is a better player than he is. And he's a better player than Quentin Nelson. It's not even close, Will.
I don't know.
Nelson's a borderline all-pro guard, but he's not as good as Josh Allen, Roquan Smith.
Well, okay, it's not. I would not say it's fair to say
because he's a guard.
I would not say
that high.
I would not say it's fair to say that Josh Allen. You had Andrew Luck. You had what you hoped Josh Allen would become. So why would you draft Josh Allen?
I get you.
But
still,
you had. He
had just missed an entire season.
We're far enough away. I don't remember what that team was like. But
He just missed the second half of the season in 2018. Anyway, that's not important. The important thing is you don't take a guard in the top 6 of the draft. It's stupid. You have a chance to get somebody who can lift your franchise. A guard cannot lift your franchise.
then I would say that you could make that argument for tackles too, because I think that tackles are just as
block the blind side of the guy who does though.
And you're not going to tell me that a left guard's not helping out.
Yeah,
on
I would also not
side.
take a tackle in the top 5 as well.
I mean,
then you'd have to be generational.
Then you should never. If that's your logic, you should never take it. You should never take a lineman in the first round ever.
I wouldn't say first round, but top 10. No way. I'm going to get a difference-making receiver, a difference-making quarterback, a shutdown corner, a difference-making linebacker. I'm not drafting an offensive lineman when you can find them anywhere. You can find offensive linemen anywhere. You cannot find elite corners anywhere. You cannot find elite linebackers anywhere. You can find elite linemen anywhere. They're all about the same, Will.
Go look at historically. What was Darrelle Revis drafted? Where was he drafted? Where was Richard Sherman drafted? I know that Surtain and those guys, they were all higher draft picks. But, I mean, you can find talent anywhere, yes. I mean, Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick, best quarterback ever. I mean, it all comes down to...
Also... second-round guards are often as good as first-round guards.
If Quentin Nelson, okay, let's just say that the rest of the class that Quentin Nelson was with, that came into this, his career with, and is still on the team right now. Let's just hypothetically say the Colts have made the playoffs and gone to 3 AFC Championship games since then, and they have played really well.
Yeah, I'd still say picking a guard with the 6th pick is stupid.
Okay.
All right. I think we beat that to death. All right. By the way, I love you, Quentin Nelson. You're a great player, but you're a guard and shouldn't have been taken that high in the draft. Get more assets and draft back if you really want him. Go back. No one else is going to draft him that high because we have the worst general manager in the NFL. All right, well, let's move on to the NBA.
Okay.
The Pacers have been really good. A little concerned about Tyrese Halliburton now, but I thought they were really good last night in the loss to Cleveland. They play hard. The defense is getting better. Are they a contender?
Absolutely. I mean, they're playing as good as they've played all year. They have proven that they can beat the Cavs. They have gotten hot. All that matters is that they're the 6th seed come playoff time, and they're not playing for a play-in game. I mean, I would say that the way that the Cavs record is right now, you wouldn't probably want to play them in a 7-game series, but I mean, they're one game out of the 4 seed. They're 4 games out of the 3 seed, and they've got a lot of time to make ground up. So yes, I think that they're absolutely a contender.
Do they need to make a move?
I think the only move that it depends on what that move is. I would say if their move is to find a significant upgrade in the starting 5, yes. If you're bringing in
that's what I mean by a move.
A strong 3-point shooter, a Paul George archetype kind of player, yes. I think that you absolutely do it. I think that if you bring in a real solid 2 guard, I think you maybe consider it. I mean, I think Mathurin, my favorite player on the Pacers. I love the way he plays the game. I think that he's very skilled player. I really love him as a 6th man though. I really do. I think he's an excellent bringing him off the bench as far as that offensive boost. Excellent 6th man. So I feel like if you can go get maybe a 2 or a 3, I think you think about it. I think other than that, I'd stay put. I'd stand my ground, and this is the same team that got you.
It's not a championship team, do you think? I mean, you say contender, you mean that they've got a chance, but you don't think.
I think they have a chance. I don't know if it's great, but I think that they absolutely. I would say right now, I'd say that they're the 3rd best team in my eyes to win it. I mean, they've gotten
the whole thing.
In the East, not the West. Yeah. I would say I would put their odds. I would like their odds the 3rd best in the East. I just the way that this team stylistically plays, they really need to have a 3-point shooter. If you're going to make a move, you have to move and what flows with that offense. If you're going to have Miles Turner be your center, you need a 3 that can really shoot the lights out, shoot the cover off the ball. I don't know. My problem with the Pacers is, I would say my only real concern is I just don't think they're very good defensively, and I think that
getting better.
They're getting better, but I don't think that they're not a slap the wood kind of defensive team, if that makes sense, where, they're really going to buckle down and they're going to wear on you for 4 quarters with their defensive pressure and intensity. But they're getting a little bit more serviceable.
Well, Nimhard's way above average.
He is. But
Shepard is above average. Walker has a chance to be special defensively. I think he's the key.
The problem is
he's that guy you're talking about, if he could turn into that.
The problem is, I think, with this team is anybody you're bringing in that kind of caliber of player where you're saying bye to Nimhard. You're saying bye to, potentially saying bye to Jarris Walker. I mean, you're saying bye. Do you think you have a good enough chance to contend this year that you're willing to trade those kind of assets to get them? I don't know. I mean, they gave up 3 firsts to go get Pascal. They're really, now we're starting to get into like the 2028, 2029.
If you're good first-round draft picks,
2030 kind of, first-round draft picks. I don't know. You can really make a sound argument either way. The obvious need for me, just in watching them, I think Miles Turner is a great accessory piece to this team, but he's not the starting center that they probably need. Offensively, he is. Offensively, he is the center they need. Defensively, he's not. They really need a Roy Hibbert kind of defender, a real rim protector, somebody that imposes his will and rebounds really well to get the ball out in transition to these skill players, and that's not Miles Turner. But I see them staying put. I would be more surprised.
This year is wide open. I mean, Boston's good, but they're an injury away with guys who get hurt a lot.
I think Cleveland is vulnerable. Is an injury away.
Cleveland is vulnerable because they have no depth. You can beat them with your depth. They really only have Dean Wade's not even 4 good players, but they should all 4 be all-stars.
I mean, my question, if you're the Pacers, who do you go get? Who are you going to target? Who do you try to go get?
Brandon Ingram type player. I think he would fit in well. I wouldn't give up much for him, though, because there's not a lot of value. He's expensive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give up much for Brandon Ingram. But that type of player, a guy who, is your number one go-to offensive player.
Yeah, no, I think he has proven in his career that he can handle an offense.
Absolutely.
He can be the point man in
He's
an
definitely
offense.
that guy.
I think that would be a great fit, especially stylistically. I think he's a great fit for just that kind of run and gun, fast-paced offense. I like his size and the ability to shoot the 3 ball a lot.
The Pelicans do not want him.
No,
they want him gone.
But like you and I know, there's going to be a bidding war for him. I mean, there hasn't
been so far, and they've been telling everybody he's available.
Everybody's just waiting. They're just waiting to see where they are.
I think he's so expensive that people are hesitant.
Well, I think they are too. Although if there's a time for the Pacers to do it, right now might be it. This is probably the cheapest this roster is going to be for a while at this point right now. So.
Man, I need a Pacers championship. I've been through a lot of great things with the Pacers. It's been a lot of fun for the last 40 years. But, man, I need a championship from that organization.
I don't know. As much as I'd love to say that they have a legitimate shot, if Boston and Cleveland stay completely healthy, I don't know if they do.
I will say the last couple of games against Cleveland, I like that matchup.
No, they do. They play them well.
They can go to a depth that Cleveland can't. I like that matchup a lot, and I like it for Matherin in particular.
I think Cleveland is a team they're not going to want to play the Pacers for 7. Similar to the Knicks, the Pacers in that Knicks series just outlasted them. They played just as physical, and they just had more guys to come in and play hard, and the Knicks didn't. And Tibbs ran that team into nothing. I mean, he ran the gas out of them. That's what happened, and I think that's what makes the playoffs more interesting in the NBA is can you keep up with the other team for 7 in a way that other sports aren't like that. And I do like the Pacers. That's why I say they have the 3rd best odds, because I think they have the 3rd best team that you would not want to play a 7-game series.
I don't disagree. All right, Will, last question, just a couple of minutes. Who wins Monday and why?
Oh boy. See, I think this is a tough question. I really think that, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of talk through both teams and why I think they can win, and then as I'm talking out loud, maybe come to a conclusion on who I think will win, because I'm not sure that I know. I said last week that I thought that Ohio State was head and shoulders better than anyone else. They proved to be a little bit more vulnerable in that Texas game than I think that I would have thought. They just let them hang around. And I think if you just let Notre Dame hang around, it might be a team that just comes and goes and takes a game from you.
I think Notre Dame wins this game. I think the Notre Dame defense is better than Will Howard. They've got the defensive backs to handle those great wide receivers. I think Notre Dame wins this game.
I think it all comes down to, is Riley Leonard in the fourth quarter going to be able to complete that 3rd and 8 for them to keep a drive going and eventually score? And I don't know if I'm convinced of that. I'm really not sure I'm convinced of it. I'm going to say Ohio State wins. And I want to put a huge asterisk. I don't want a bunch of people coming after me. I think Notre Dame can't. This is like a 51-49. I think very similar to how that Ravens-Bills matchup is. I think, like you said, if Notre Dame, they're going to win. They're going to win in the trenches. They're going to win because their defense is just going to outlast Ohio State's offense. I think they have the horses to play with them. I think they can match up. I think they have. I think they have linebackers that can cover Ohio State's tight ends. I think Notre Dame's a very fundamentally sound tackling team, so I don't expect to see the broken tackles that you maybe saw in the Oregon game occur. I think Notre Dame's front seven is really solid, and they have safeties that are not afraid to come down and play in the tackle box and deliver blows.
And maybe the best corner cover in the
country.
I
do. I think that their corner coverage is really good. I think they're a team that, what makes them maybe a better matchup than both Texas and Oregon, I think they can not bracket Jeremiah Smith and get away with it, if that makes sense. I don't think they have to devote 4 eyes to Jeremiah Smith. I think they can cover him with 2 and hope that they can cover everyone else. It's a really good national champ. This is the first national championship in a while that I've been really excited for, because I just think that every other year you've kind of known.
Yeah.
You knew Michigan was beating Washington last year. I'm recalling back to recent memory. Obviously, Georgia won back.
The last time Notre Dame was in the national championship, you knew they weren't beating Alabama.
No, they got murdered.
Right. Yeah.
Murdered.
All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Hopefully next week we can do it on Monday again.
Yeah.
Because there are no playoff games on Monday. Yep. We were going to do it on Monday, but the playoffs weren't over, so we couldn't do.
No.
It wouldn't have been good. So we made it work on Wednesday, and but now we're going to get more Will just 5 days from now.
Yeah.
Plus, we're going to make our football predictions this weekend.
I'm not sure if
our playoff predictions.
More of me is better, but I think it's definitely going to get more of me, whether you like it or not.
That's right. More of Will coming Monday. Thanks to Will for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report again, and thank you for listening. If you enjoyed what you hear, please like, subscribe, or follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube so you don't miss a single segment. And tell a friend. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.